Excuse me. Well, I think it's important that we have to be in that market, and I think, as Howard pointed out, that we are developing renewable energy. So as we do that, I hope that we can become a producer instead of a consumer that we would be right now, so that we could actually start producing renewable energy, and this electrical grid system would give us the ability to transport it to the eastern seaboard. So I think the best way to do that is to invest in renewable energies here, so that when the time comes that we can produce more, that we're into the system.
Jane.
Well, I think it's a question of leadership. And I think first and foremost, Stephen MacNeill has indicated a willingness to work with the Atlantic partners on this issue. Because let's face it, it's in the best interest not just of Nova Scotians to securing energy at that rate, it's in the best interest of our neighbors that we do so as well. If we are a weak companion to our Atlantic partners, it drags this region down. It is very important that we do secure this agreement, and I think Stephen MacNeill, in his approach to Danny Williams earlier this year, showed true leadership and vision on this issue. Thank you.
Well, it's virtually impossible to do this. National energy policy in Canada that was developed by the federal government under Brian Mulroney, another thing we have to thank him for, essentially is oriented towards exporting our energy to the United States. And in the northeastern United States, there is a demand for electricity along with all kinds of other energy, and they're paying a high price for it, and we're not going to be able to achieve a low price for energy that's essentially flow through to the United States. We'll get our share, but we'll have to compete in that market, and that's what we saw with the Sable development offshore. In fact, the situation was even worse there because the developers of it didn't think there was even any market at all for natural gas in the Maritimes, and they were surprised to find we were interested in it. I think at least now Quebec and Newfoundland know that in the Maritimes and the rest of the Atlantic province, we're interested in buying it.
David.
Yeah, thank you. Substantial investments have to be made to green the grid, not only to access our own renewables, but also to import, as was mentioned previously. And this is for the benefit, clearly, not only of the environment, but it's also meant to be for the benefit of consumers. And they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, I would suggest they're interdependent. When Newfoundland ships that power out, they still have to be competitive, and they have to be competitive with what we can generate here in Nova Scotia. And if they're not, then they're not going to have a market. But we have lots of opportunity here in Nova Scotia to generate renewables. And we should develop them.
Go ahead.
It's open. Okay, well, we should certainly be talking to both Newfoundland and Quebec right now about the possibility of securing hydroelectricity here and working through the details about what the new grid is going to look like and building that capacity in order to bring it in. So that's a crucial move that should be going on right now. I know that some preliminary moves have been taken in that direction, but I don't think they've moved nearly fast enough, and certainly a lot more work has to be done in order to secure at least some portion of that energy supply for us here, and on the basis of recognition that we're part of Canada, and if there's a national source, we should have first access to it. But that goes against the general thrust of what national energy policy so far has been, which is mostly to look at exports. So we have to really get our oar in very, very stiffly as soon as we possibly can on that.
Well, I think there's no doubt, certainly from our point of view, that our party platform clearly supports that. Stephen MacNeill has signaled that long before the election came in meeting with Danny Williams, and we're on side on that issue.
Okay.
Okay, James, this question starts with you. Nova Scotians, we rely on fossil-fueled cars and trucks to live and work in our province. Electric vehicle technology and electric-powered transportation seems certain to play a central role in combating climate change. How would your government assist a transition to electric vehicles?
Well, it's certainly no good to plug in a car if you're plugging it into a hydro system that's fired by coal. And I guess in the first instance, and I've already spoken about this, and the Liberal plan is on this point, we support the energy corridor. We support securing access to renewable hydro energy from the Lower Churchills project. And there's no point there's no point in talking about shifting to electric vehicles, electric transit, unless the energy source that is fueling up these vehicles is a renewable energy source. Otherwise, you're just consuming, you're driving up consumption, and what are you achieving? Nothing.
Yeah. I actually agree with part of that. It seems to me at this point in Nova Scotia, certainly electric vehicles are really not going to be a huge component of the answer. You have to understand this question in the context of transportation, which is a big user, big generator of greenhouse gases, big user of fossil fuels. So really what we should be focusing on here are alternatives to the private vehicle that is public transit. We have to also think in terms of design of our particularly metro, the area, so that we have to really concentrate and not be so much in favor of sprawl. Those are things that we have to think about. I think that's really the answer. The technology is not in this sector the solution so far. It's not that it's bad, it's just that it's not there yet.
Yes, actually about 28% of our greenhouse gas emissions come from transportation, and as part of the Climate Change Action Plan, the Department of Transportation Infrastructure and Renewal is tasked with coming up with a sustainable transportation strategy. It's going to deal with cars and the emission standards. Also a pilot project for commercial vehicles, which are a large emitter. Also community planning, so that people use more active transportation and more public transit. So this should all come with the sustainable transportation strategy expected next year.